Happy Thursday, everyone. I am back on. Sometimes I feel like Thursday to Thursday takes literally forever because I like hopping on here with you guys and talking to you. Hey, if you're on this morning, let me know. I like to know who it is that I am chatting with. Sorry about the countdown. That took longer than it was supposed to, but sometimes I just don't know what I'm doing. Is that fair? That's got to be fair. Listen, you guys, my town, Junction City, is just full of energy right now. I had to run to take my girls to work, and it is like there are people everywhere downtown. And as I was coming back from Sonic to the church, have you ever been through a joy tunnel? If you haven't, or a fire tunnel, you'd have to be in the right the right denomination or stream, let's say, because I think those are mostly non-denominational or charismatic anyway. But joy tunnels and fire tunnels. But that's what I felt like I was doing. I was imagining that I was driving through a tunnel of union, of unity. And it was just so much fun because, it's only 20 miles per hour through there anyway. And because there were tons of people everywhere, I was driving super slow and taking in everything that was going on around me. And I was so excited to see the amount of people that were gathering. And the big deal is, from my understanding, is that it's a celebration of the new high school that's opening up here in Junction City. So everyone has come out to the Junction City High School. Band is playing downtown. And had I known that this was going on, I would have made plans to be there. But that was not the case. So here we are together. That's going on out there, and you and I are in here just enjoying. Listen, I've got my unedited life mug out, invited into oneness. I feel like this is something that God is just like super highlighting today. It's always on my mind. Union, oneness, it's always on my mind because it's what we're called into. Like he has called us into being one with him. And so I was actually like thinking through this as I was encountering Junction City, being out and about this morning, and just really like thinking like, what hinders us from really coming close to one another? And earlier in the week, I had been reminded of the words in Psalm 139, and I want to read Psalm 139 a little bit backwards, a little bit out of order, if that's okay with you. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Amy. Nice to have you on here with me. I feel like we're just enjoying a late morning cup of coffee together. I hope you have your hands around a warm mug right now and that we're just really enjoying this moment together. I always say I wish I was sitting on a couch in a cozy living room with the people that I just enjoy being around. So anyway, let's read Psalm 139, and we're going to start in verse 23. It's such a beautiful psalm. I love it. The whole thing is just really good, but I do want to start at the end, and then we'll backtrack. Amy, no, say it isn't so. That is not good. That is not good. I pray that the Lord would provide coffee for you in abundance. Maybe you should come down here and get yourself a cup. Anyway, Psalm 139, verse 23. God, I invite your searching gaze into my heart. Examine me through and through. Find out everything that may be hidden within me. Put me to the test and sift through all my anxious cares. See if there is any path of pain that I'm walking on, and lead me back to your glorious, everlasting ways, the path that brings me back to you. Now, these are the kinds of words that could really, honestly, frighten us a little bit. Like, God, search me, right? And depending on what translation you're reading it in, this is the Passion, so it's a little bit more flowery, and it's just so beautiful. But in some of the other translations, it's like, search me, oh God. Test me, put me to the test, right? And I understand that sometimes that language can be a little bit frightening, like, come this far, but no further, God, right? And as I was sitting in this earlier in the week, I was seeing just that we tend to put up no trespassing signs, right? Like we nail it in there really good, or we build brick upon brick to like keep the hidden parts away from God's sight, or so we think, right? We're actually not very good at it, right? It's like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum because they're incapable of saying what it is that they really need, right? And what they're really wanting is for someone to reach out and hold them, right? And so when we're putting up these walls, these barriers between us and God, thinking that we're somehow like hiding our parts of ourselves from him, we're really just throwing a temper tantrum, begging him to look. Come, Papa, hold me in this place of hiddenness, right? It's the same thing with Adam and Eve. They eat the fruit, right? Everything is suddenly like they know things that they were never intended to know or carry. They're capable of weighing and judging themselves, and realize that they're naked for the first time, and their instinct, their human instinct, is to hide, right? And so our hiddenness comes from our knowledge of good and evil, our tapping into our ability to judge things right or wrong. And what if we just lived free? That's my big question, is like, what if we just lived free? What if we lived free from the demands of knowing good and evil, or knowing right and wrong? And I think that's possible for us. Actually, I believe that's what we are invited into. If being invited into oneness, let's look really quick. I want to hop over to John 17. And if you were here for Bliss on Sunday night, you got a thorough reading of John 17. But I want to remind us as often as possible that it is actually Jesus's prayer that we experience union, that we experience oneness. He says, I pray for them all to be joined together as one, even as you and I, Father, are one. He's asking the Father to enfold us into the same union reality that Jesus and the Father share. Listen, you can't divide them. You can't divide Jesus and the Father. You can't remove them from one another. And that's the same union that he's praying that we would experience. And you're probably like going, okay, Angie, can you bring this together for me? Because I'm not understanding where you're going. The hiddenness is what keeps us from union. It's what keeps us from experiencing the togetherness that he paid for. Listen, this prayer that he is offering up to the Father is just moments prior to the ultimate sacrifice, the once and for all sacrifice that went down, where Jesus took us all into himself, and we were co-crucified with him. We were co-buried with him, and obviously co-raised. And so we experienced his death. We experienced his burial. We also experienced life, and life to the full. That's that resurrection life that's been paid for. You can't actually out imagine what the amount of life that God has available for you. You cannot outdream God on this. Like resurrection life, I can't wrap my mind around this. I can allow my mind to wander into, oh my gosh, like what is it that he actually has for me? This is what I know. What he doesn't have planned for us is that we remain hidden, that we continue to throw up walls and no trespassing. God, come this close, no further. That's not what he has for us. It is only by the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that we are even capable of knowing that we need to hide. I hope this is making sense for us. Is this making sense? Like, are we all tracking together here? I know this is such a huge part of the gospel that we don't really dive into all that much, because it's far easier to just continue on and be like, yes, well, I love Jesus. Jesus loves me. We don't really need to go any further than that. That's actually not true, because what the gospel is really about is union, about being brought into oneness with Christ. And that's not all. It says, remember, we're going to go back here to John 17:21. I pray for them all to be joined together as one. Union is what he has in mind for the church, for the bride. If you have a hard time of using the word church and not seeing it as the building with the steeple, then refer to it as the bride, because he's very intimate in what it is that he's saying concerning the church. He is looking at the church as the beloved, the bride, the one he intends to marry. If you need to go deeper into that, I invite you, find somebody to walk through Song of Songs with. If you need to understand the heart of the Father concerning the bride, you need to take a deep dive into Song of Songs. And just for clarity's sake, Song of Songs is not the unforbidden book in the Bible. It's not all about sensuality and sex. That's not what the book is about. The book is about intimacy. And there is so much to be uncovered in this book. I have landed in the book multiple times throughout my life. And every single time I gain new revelation. Now, I will say this, it's probably not a book that you want to journey through on your own, because there are parts of it that's like, I don't understand, right? And so I think that it's a good book to dive into with other people who are just really given to understand union and the bridal paradigm that is ours from the kingdom of God. So, okay, as promised, I want to go back and start at the beginning of Psalm 139, because what I want us to gain from the end here, where he's saying, search me, like it's almost like his yearning turns to, I don't want anything hidden from you anymore. I want to live free. I want to live bare. I want to live exposed before you, Lord, right? Like David understands something here, and we can only really grab hold of everything that he's laying out by understanding the intimacy that has been being built between him and God for all this time. I am so convinced that what made David a man after God's own heart was the fact that he spent so much time pondering the wonders of all that God is as a shepherd boy, right? We know that he was sent out to hang out with the sheepies, right? And in that time, can you imagine like where your mind could potentially go in spaces like that, where it's just open pasture and it's just you and the dirty old sheep? So I think that he developed this culture of worship with God through this time, to where you've got to remember, like David messed up over and over and over again. This is such a picture, you guys, of the garden, because like I've said probably millions of times, I don't know. We have no idea if Adam and Eve fell short prior to the apple incident or the fruit incident, right? We don't know. It doesn't tell us. It just says that they walked with God in the cool of the day. They looked into him as their mirror. When they looked into his face, they knew who they were. There was no knowledge of good and evil. This is what we really need to understand. There was no knowledge of it. And David is living this out in real time. Like he screws up over and over and over again, but he knows the heart of God well enough to know that there is a return. There is a path of returning. There is no need for him to go and hide. There were moments, I understand that there are moments when David went a little bit bonkers, right? And like Ziklag, right? When he is in Ziklag, he is like a mess of a human and has removed himself from the knowledge of God, let's say. But I love it that you can see in David's life that there's constantly a return. He's never shying away from like, I'm too bad for you. I'm too bad for you to look at. You know, that is the biggest lie in the church today, is that God can't look upon sin. Whoo, you guys. I'm sorry. There's just nothing that can trump God, not even sin. Anyway, so let's start in verse 1, 139:1. Lord, you know everything there is to know about me. You perceive every movement of my heart and soul, and you understand my every thought before it even enters my mind. Wow. You are so intimately aware of me, Lord. Let's pause. Like, can you say that? Can you say that without any kind of anxiety rising up within you? You are so intimately aware of me. I love that language. You read my heart like an open book, and you know all the words that I'm about to speak before I even start a sentence. You know every step I'll take before my journey even begins. You've gone into my future to prepare the way, and in kindness, you follow behind me to spare me from the harm of my past. With your hand of love upon my life, you impart a blessing to me. This is just too wonderful, deep, and incomprehensible. Your understanding of me brings wonder and strength. Where could I go from your spirit? Where can I run and hide from your face? If I could go up to heaven, you're there. If I go down to the realm of the dead, you're there too. If I fly with wings into the shining dawn, there you are. If I fly into the radiant sunset, you're there too. Wherever I go, your hand will guide me, your strength will empower me. It's impossible to disappear from you or to ask the darkness to hide me. That's pretty key. For your presence is everywhere, bringing light into my night. There's no such thing as darkness with you. The night to you is as bright as the day. There's no difference between the two. You formed my innermost being, shaping my delicate inside and my intricate outside, and you wove them all together in my mother's womb. I thank you, God, for making me so mysteriously complex. Everything you do is marvelously breathtaking. It simply amazes me to think about it, how thoroughly you know me, Lord. You have informed every bone in my body when you created me in the secret place, carefully, skillfully shaping me from nothing to something. You saw who you created me to be before I became me. Before I'd ever seen the light of day, the number of days you planned for me were already recorded in your book. Every single moment you are thinking of me, how precious and wonderful to consider that you cherish me constantly in your every thought. Oh God, your desires toward me are more than the grain of sands in every shore. When I awake each morning, you're still with me. Oh God, come and slay these bloodthirsty, murderous men, for I cry out, depart from me, you wicked ones. See how they blaspheme your sacred name and lift up themselves against you, but all in vain. Lord, can't you see how I despise those who despise you? For I grieve when I see them rise up against you. I have nothing but complete hatred and disgust for them. Your enemies shall be my enemies. God, I invite your searching gaze into my heart. Examine me through and through. Find out everything that may be hidden within me. Put me to the test and sift through all my anxious cares. See if there is any path of pain that I'm walking on, and lead me back to your glorious everlasting ways, the path that brings me back to you. Isn't that absolutely stunning? Can you hear the intimacy? This is years of intimacy carved out between David and God. He knows that he's known. And not only that, he knows that God is for him. Do you know that God is for you? If you do, then be brave. Invite him in to the parts that feel dark, that feel hidden, and allow him to begin to remove the barriers. He will. He will. He's so faithful in this. He doesn't want anything standing between us and him. And listen, this is really important. Nor does he want anything standing between me and you. Right? This is the truth. When we give way to hiddenness, there will always be a barrier between me and you. But when we allow God to come in and shine his brilliance on it, you guys, it has to fold, it has to go. He will make right the things that feel like they're off somehow. He just does. It's what he does. When he comes close, truth reigns. And what I love most about being his is that he causes even the things that feel like a dismal failure to have to turn around and give glory to his name. That's one of my favorite promises, is that even the worst things that I experience, they have no choice. They have to bow and give glory to his name. It's the promise that's ours. So drop the hammer and the nails and the stupid no trespassing sign and let him in. Because I want to come near to you. And if I do, how much more does the Father, right? Let's move towards togetherness. Let's move towards union. It's what's ours. Love you, and I bless your Thursday with abundance, that you would feel goodness and mercy chasing you down. And mostly, that you would feel the warmth of his brilliant light shining upon you. Love you.